Conservation Research Board in Washington.
A lot of work to do. We've been talking about UNR's Earthquake Engineering Lab with Professor Saeed Saidi. Professor, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity to share some of our information with your audience.
There's more conversation ahead. This is State of Nevada.
Support for Nevada Public Radio comes from City National Bank, the bank that's built on client referrals, working to help Nevada grow successfully. Information at cnb.com/referrals. And from Barrick, a mining company committed to building strong communities in all of Nevada. Barrick proudly celebrates the Public Education Foundation's 25th anniversary annual campaign. Donation information at thepef.org.
Members of Canadian indie rock band Arcade Fire were interviewed on All Things Considered recently.
I think that a conceptual framework around the record is trying to come to some sort of understanding about the moment we're in and trying to have some peace with it.
Arcade Fire plays Las Vegas at Mandalay Bay Event Center October 22nd on their Infinite Concert Tour. 100% of your ticket purchased from the KNPR online box office stays here to fund your listening. Arcade Fire tickets available now at knpr.org.
It's 9:39.
From Nevada Public Radio, I'm Carrie Kaufman. It's State of Nevada. It seems the world is being pummeled by disaster right now. There are hurricanes and earthquakes and fires, and they're not too far from home. With the number of disasters in the world, you have to wonder, how prepared is Nevada? We're joined now by three emergency managers. We have Aaron Keniston from Washoe County in the north, Irene Navis from Clark County in the south, and Carolyn Levering from the city of Las Vegas. All of you, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Irene, let's start with you. In Clark County, what kinds of natural disasters are you looking at that we're susceptible to?
We actually have several types of emergencies and disasters that we look at in terms of natural disasters. Certainly earthquakes is at the top of the list, wildfires and flooding. Those are our top three.
So earthquakes, we actually had an earthquake here in 2014. Some people felt it. I did not.
Yes.
How big was that, and can we get bigger ones?
Most of the earthquakes that we have in Nevada are very, very minor in nature. We have them actually almost daily across the state, anywhere from a 1.5 to a 3.0. Most people aren't going to feel, but we do have them on a regular basis. And anything that you might shake a building or shake a piece of infrastructure like a bridge or a roadway is of concern. And so they're monitored daily, and we are always in the process of preparing for a larger earthquake that could devastate a community or impact major parts of our infrastructure or our population.
Fires and floods. We had a fire in Mount Charleston a few years ago, and we are in drought conditions. Talk to me about what we're looking for there.
Absolutely. Certainly drought is one of the factors that we look at, and it's one of our risk factors. We're in probably year 10 of an ongoing drought situation, and so that does make our open areas very dry and susceptible to lightning strikes and man-made causes of fire as well. So we always are on the lookout in Mount Charleston, making sure that conditions are such that we want to issue warnings during those times so that people are more careful in those areas. Carpenter One fire, of course, was caused by a major lightning strike, and it burned 28,000 acres over a period of almost 3 weeks. And luckily, we didn't lose, no one lost their life, there were no injuries, we lost a few uninhabited buildings, but we were very, very lucky in that instance.
When I came back to Las Vegas, one of the things that interested me is that as we grew, we built flood channels.
Yes.
So it still floods, but we've got these flood channels in place. Has that had a lasting impact, and can we do better?
Absolutely. It's had a lasting impact. The millions of dollars that have been spent on flood control measures between our regional flood control district that was formed in 1985 for that very reason, to do better. Our Public Works Department that maintains all of those facilities. Very important that they be provided the funding so that they can do the planning and the execution of flood control measures that continue to improve our situation. A lot of folks don't realize that the roadways and those flood control channels and all of that, those are all designed to work together to move the water from one place to another. And so the Turnaround, Don't Drown campaign that we've been working with Public Works and Regional Flood on, that's so important because people don't understand that water going through the roadway versus the car is going to lose every time.
And you know, when there's a big rain, the water is going to go through that roadway. Absolutely. Because you have designed it that way.
It's designed that way.
And you're telling people to stay away from what you know is going to flood.
That's correct. That's correct. And people assume that because the water's in the roadway that the flood control measures are not working. Water in the roadway means it is working, and they just need to get out of the way and stay safe.
Erin Keniston, Washoe County is growing tremendously. Are you putting in place the same kinds of things that Clark County put in 20 years ago, 30 years ago?
Well, you're right about growth, and some people believe that the reason that we're seeing so many disasters is our population in Nevada is growing. We're moving, into urban wildlife areas, or kind of commingling. And that's why you see so many of the big wildland fires that are probably our number one threat in the north. I tell everyone that lives in Nevada, we're so fortunate. We're not in Tornado Alley. We're not in the Gulf Coast. But we do have hazards. And in northern Nevada, we've identified kind of our top 13. And they are very similar to the disasters that Irene describes. We have, of course, an earthquake threat because Nevada is the third most seismically active state in our nation. We're super fortunate because over the last 150 years, there have been 24 earthquakes that were magnitude 6 and above. Those are the kind of earthquakes that cause bookshelves to fall over and foundations to crack and, wreak havoc. But in the last 50 years, there's only been one. So seismologists urge us to be vigilant because we're perhaps overdue for an earthquake. As I mentioned, wildland fires is a big, big threat in northern Nevada, just as it is in southern Nevada. And we both share the flooding concern. Here in the Truckee Meadows, we have the Truckee River that runs through our community, and it has been known to overflow its banks. And this past year, we had, I believe, officially come out of the drought because we had a 230% water year.
Yes.
That has caused problems with flooding throughout northern Nevada. So although the geography is dissimilar in the fact that we're kind of nestled at the foothills of the Sierra Nevadas, Nevada shares many of the same hazards.
Talk to me about the Truckee River reclamation.
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time working on Truckee River flooding, and similar to the flood efforts in southern Nevada, we have a coalition, a Truckee River Flood Management Authority, that really grew out of the 1997 flooding. We've had these so-called 100-year floods several times over our history, but the 1997 flood was particularly devastating, caused over $600 million worth of damage, and it was because Reno had grown. And so when it flooded, more of our infrastructure was affected. So we've spent a lot of time over the last few decades putting in additional sensors and early warning devices and doing things like raising bridges, creating a living river, giving it more room to expand and contract. But the work is far, far from done. And really the hard part with all the things we're going to talk about this morning is that they all cost money. And when you live in a region that doesn't have giant hazards every day, or even really that frequently compared to other parts of the country, it is hard to spur, citizens and our elected officials into action as far as spending large amounts of